Welcome to the show. I am your girl, Felina B. Flossin.
And I'm Monickie Scott, and today we're asking the question, is perfectionism as bad as they say? We're going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk about what you should be doing that you may want to stop doing right now, the good and the bad about being a perfectionist, and how do you know if you are a perfectionist? We're excited to have you join us today. In this world we live in, everyone's always looking for that 5-star rating. Well, how do you rate yourself?
Absolutely. And it is our intention that by listening to this podcast, the 5 Star Living Show, we will help you move towards your own 5 star rating by finding ways to live more balanced by focus on the mind, body, soul, while laughing and loving more.
Oh, I just love that. Laughing and loving more. But you know what? Let's get right into it and get started. Felina, when you hear the word perfectionist, what's like the first thing that comes to your mind?
Everything has to be on target. Dot all I's, cross all T's.
Yes, that's exactly how I think it. Like, I think about everything is in its place. I think if you go to that person's house, if you accidentally move a cup out of place, they're gonna be like,
Yeah,
don't do that.
yeah, all the
So
cans have to be facing forward, lined. Yeah,
yeah, so that's my idea of it too. Well, perfectionism is defined as a refusal to accept any standard other than perfection. And to be perfect is to be without flaw and totally accurate.
that's heavy. That is
Okay.
really heavy.
That's like when you think of, have you ever heard people say, "Oh, he played a perfect game," or "They're the perfect couple." When
Yeah,
I hear things like that, I believe that people immediately go straight to thinking about, let me check and see.
yeah.
Are they the perfect
Oh, they
couple?
got some faults.
Was his game perfect? I mean, he did. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's something to it to be called perfect. I mean, when's the last time you've heard of something being perfect? And is it even attainable?
I mean, as it comes to perfection, it's said oftentimes that the perfect car, the perfect house, the perfect vacation, the perfect. And so I think maybe the word perfect is being idealized wrong. Like
Yeah.
maybe perfect for a person, perfect for that situation. But
And I
yeah,
myself, I'm a recovering perfectionist, so I
congratulations.
know I didn't. Thank you. And believe me, it rears its ugly head every now and then. But I remember, thinking that perfectionism was such a great strength. And I used to
Mm,
brag about, oh, I'm a perfectionist. I'm a perfectionist in my younger years.
yeah, yeah,
And one day I went to, I want to say it was a leadership program. And when we had to really do some of that deep diving into ourselves
yeah.
and things that we do and things that we hold up and we value, that came up on the list, and it they proved to me and showed me that no, it's actually a weakness because
Mm,
perfectionism is really something that a human cannot obtain. So
yeah.
for you to think that you're perfect or that you want to be perfect, it
Yeah.
can drive you into some really crazy mental states.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
When I think of, people are saying perfect. So society makes out a certain look of, say, a woman that's perfect. And so my 5'4.5" self, I'm not going to ever be that tall. So it's like, what am I to do? Am I to feel like, oh, I'm imperfect? Because that I'll never, and so that perfectionism, those labels, is really out of hand. But you
I
know,
can remember when you mentioned that it took me back to my college years, and I can remember wanting to wear a certain size bra because they said that
yeah,
was the perfect bra size, and
yeah, 36,
wanting
24,
to
36.
yeah, and that was not my size, but that's what size bra I would buy because I needed to be in that perfect bra size, right? But how many people do that, just trying to fit into that mental image of what society may say we're supposed to be doing and how we're supposed to be living? There is, according to, let me see, I have some notes here, Felina. According to medicalnewstoday.com, the most toxic socially prescribed no, socially prescribed perfectionism is toxic, and it means that individuals believe that their social contact is excessively demanding, and that others judge them harshly. That
Hmm.
they must display perfection to secure approval. So just like we were just talking about, that it leads to this. Here's what they say I should be like, talk like, walk like, act like, and then this is how I am. So I'm gonna spend my time, like you said, trying to fit into this 5 foot. What's the perfect size? What are you
Well,
supposed to be?
I wanted to be 5'9". That
Okay. So I'm gonna try to walk tall or buy some 10-inch heels
in my neck.
just so I can be that size that society says that I'm
Yes.
supposed to be. And how often do you experience this with people, like, let's say, online? We talked about it offline. So how often have you seen this online?
Yeah. Well, okay. What I can say is online, we pretty much put all the perfect stuff, you know, all the stuff,
Filters.
all the filter. I need a lot of I need filters getting out of hand. Let me just say, okay, start fading away. The filters, because we feel like we have to look like what has been on Vogue or all of these, programs after they've had all this makeup and or surgery, to fix themselves. And the serious side of that is that, our youth, they're growing up feeling they have to be at this certain level. And it's depressing them, and the suicide rate is skyrocketing.
Oh my gosh.
That's that's the
You
problem with perfectionism.
Yes, and you mentioned that because there's another older study that says that over half of the people that have died by suicide were described by their loved ones as perfectionist.
Oh, that's deep. That's real deep.
That is so deep, just to think that I'm not good enough to be in this world. Yeah.
Yeah. I
So,
recall, yeah.
on that note, let's talk about what a perfectionist might look like. Here are some of the signs. The goals are set out of reach. This is like where anything less than perfect is unacceptable. And to them, in their mind, they're just being, fabulous. They're just being their great self. If this is you and you're listening, you could be a perfectionist.
Okay, listen up.
They only focus on the results. How
Okay.
has that shown up in, let's just say, the workplace alone, right? There's people that are only interested in it has to get done this way.
Yeah,
Whereas if there's somebody else that suggests that there's another way that could
yeah,
be done, no, this is how it has to be done. They're not interested in growing or learning or the hows or whys and the ins and outs of it.
yeah,
They just want it to get finished, and it needs to be get finished this way. Whereas there may be a better way, or there may be something to learn in between, but they're not spending time
yeah.
doing it.
Like
So
my grandmother would say, there's always more than one way to skin a cat.
there you go.
Very kind words.
Not just the perfect way, right? So we were just talking about the suicide. Well, another sign of being a perfectionist is that they get depressed when they do not meet their
Yeah,
own goals.
yeah,
Some people just move on, right? You
yeah,
you fail, it doesn't work out, it doesn't do, it's not going good for you. You move on, but
yeah.
not the perfectionist.
That's a
The
perfect.
perfectionist ends up getting stuck in a very depressed mode. So if you're listening and that's you and you can't get past the fact that, oops, I messed up,
Hmm.
it could be that you're just looking at it as it had to be this way. And you're stuck in a mode that you can move on. You can do it again. You can try again. It will work again.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
will. Another thing is they fear failure.
Mm-hmm.
How does that sound? Have you ever heard or known anyone who feared failure?
Yeah. In general, you have a fear of failing, but when it just changes your whole mood and you feel a lack of confidence in yourself in general, then that's when there's a problem, because we know in life things don't always go as planned. Even if you do it to the best of your ability, life has a way of designing where you are to go. So some things are not
One
going
of
to.
the best comebacks that I heard for the fear of failure, for someone saying, "But what if I failed?" was, "But what if you don't? What
Yeah.
if you actually do that thing that you are setting out to
Yeah.
do and you succeed?"
Yeah.
So if you're a perfectionist and you're sitting around fearing because you're thinking, I could fail. I need you to just take one moment and switch that around and say, but I could succeed. What
Yeah.
if you succeed?
Yeah. And what
Right?
if you fail forward?
And what if you fell forward? There it is. Do it anyway.
Do it anyway.
Another way you another thing that procrastinate. I'm sorry, that perfectionists do is they procrastinate a
Mm.
lot, not a
Yeah.
little, but a lot.
Yeah.
And how does that make sense considering that we just talked about the fear of failure? When you hear that
Yeah.
perfectionists who's supposed to be doing things perfectly
Yeah.
procrastinate, what does that sound like to you?
Yeah, because they can't like do it or release it until it's absolutely right. And so they keep judging themselves. Okay, well, no, I could be a little bit better. Okay, well, I could tweak it a little bit more. Oh, but it needs a little bit of this, needs a little bit more pepper, a little bit more salt,
Right.
garlic,
And
instead
so
of just,
nothing ends up getting done at all. So if you're listening and you procrastinate a lot,
yeah.
you could be a perfectionist.
Hmm.
Another thing is they are super duper critical, not just on themselves,
Yeah.
but they also criticize others.
Hmm.
Something can be going really, really good and everybody else is celebrating, but the perfectionist is off to the side, fake smiling and can't
Yeah.
celebrate because they
Ooh.
noticing, that was all right, but they should have did it like this, or it's
Ooh.
good, but she could have did a little better on that part, or he could have did something more. So everybody else is all happy. Everything is all good. Everything is all done, but not
Debbie
the
Downer's
perfectionist.
like, yeah.
The perfectionist is like, oh,
Yeah.
no, it needs to be better. It could have been better.
Yeah.
And on the side of that, perfectionists don't take criticism well. Like
Mm.
you criticize them, they get on the super defensive because
Yeah.
it is too painful for them to even hear that I was not perfect.
Yeah.
If this is you and you can't take criticism,
Hmm.
you could be a perfectionist.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the last one that I want to mention is that perfectionists suffer from low self esteem.
Mm.
Why do you think that is, Felina?
Well, I believe maybe they're judging themselves from an image that they see as
Yeah.
being perfect.
Yeah. And the sad thing about it is, while we're sitting around, me being a recovering perfectionist, while we're sitting around thinking that everything I do is good, I just need everything to be good, and I'm a perfectionist, and that's my, my thing. Perfectionists live a lot less happy
Yeah.
life because
Yeah.
they stress more, they get less done, and it
Yeah.
just it puts too much. I mean, think about it. The
Yeah.
outside world puts enough pressure on you.
Yeah.
So for you to be putting all that pressure on yourself,
Yeah.
not necessary at all.
It is not. And what it makes me think of, as adults, as parents, as mothers, as aunties, as role models. I remember an example of a lady who, she was not happy with her face, so she got her nose done, her eyelids done. She got a lot of work done. There's no problem if you want to enhance yourself. However, what happened in this situation was her daughter was watching her, and since the mom had to replace her nose, and the daughter knew that they had the same nose, so if that wasn't right, that wasn't
Oh,
good enough. So
wow.
the daughter, 14 years old, needed a nose job because she's like, well,
Wow.
mommy says that the nose that we had isn't right. So
So young people are watching.
they're watching.
They're
So
watching.
we have to be careful what we push off to them
Yes.
in
Hey,
our
make sure to like us on Facebook at Five Star Living
hey.
Show and remember to subscribe on YouTube.
Yes.
Five Star Living is sponsored in part by Flossie Flicks Photography and Voices of Mo featuring Coach
Yes.
Monickie. So listen, I wanted to go over a couple scenarios. I wanted to get your opinion on this. Someone asked me, said that they have a friend who's a perfectionist, and it's so extreme that they've sort of backed off. They love her, but they don't know how to tell her that what
Mm,
she's doing, being such a perfectionist, is like really just driving them away.
wow.
What would you tell that person?
Ugh.
I know one thing that comes to mind is before you walk away, communicate, like
Yes.
tell her what is going on and at least give her the opportunity to either change her ways or to know that, uh-oh, well, maybe I could, pipe down. Maybe she has no idea that that's what she's doing and that she's driving away because that's just how she is. She's in her mode. So
Yeah.
I would definitely say to communicate and be kind with it because
Yeah.
remember they don't like criticism. So you can't be all super
Yeah.
critical, but find a way, especially if it's a friend that you really love and you care for, you can be kind and acknowledge what you're going through with them, and who knows, they you may help them turn their
Yeah.
life around.
Yeah. And, like you said, communication is so very important. I think one of the things to remind them is that they are setting the bar of what perfect is in their lives. They don't have to reach that bar. They're the only ones who seeing that bar.
Yeah, yeah,
So in that friendship you see them as perfect as they are, but yet they're seeing themselves as needing so much work, or they have to have this certain behavior. And so I would definitely say have that talk with them. At the same time, who you're around has an effect on you. And so, not to say completely eliminate them, but you may have to gain a little bit of space while you still give them nuggets over time. When you love someone, it doesn't just end. We all have issues.
exactly,
we
exactly.
all
You
have
said it
something.
right there. We all have something
Yeah.
definitely going on. Um, this other scenario is for you because you do a lot of hiring, and as mentioned, I used to use perfectionism as a strength on my job interviews. But what would you tell someone who was using that? You're interviewing them and they're like, I'm a perfectionist, and they're thinking that they're telling you that
Yeah.
to gain um you liking them and wanting to hire them.
So, yes, in hiring individuals, I would also ask, well, what are your weaknesses? And if they didn't have one, it was like it was a little daunting for me. But it was like, okay, so what are areas that you want to work on? Because we all have something that we want to get better in. When I hear someone says that they're a perfectionist, it lets me know that they are going to try to do their best at the job. So I
True.
kind of see it as, I don't exactly see it as a negative to that degree, but also to the point where it's like, I need a person to be fluid and able to, if they make a mistake, can correct it, or that can look at other ways of doing a job, being able to be a team player.
There you go. I like the way you said that too, because you said you asked the question, "What are your weaknesses?" And I can tell you from being a recovering perfectionist, we ain't got none. What you
Right.
talking about weaknesses? I'm perfect. So I would definitely just go back. We were talking earlier in the show to let that person know that to remember that when you're on a job interview that they're looking for a team player, and sometimes being not having weaknesses and not and being so perfect, it can be too extreme, and nobody wants to work with someone that can't take criticism, that's not ready to grow, that can't learn anything. It
Yes.
can be exhausting
Yes.
to deal with a person that has no growth potential.
Yes.
Employers need someone who can grow and get better, not someone who's going to be stuck and can't move forward because they did something that they thought was so wrong, right?
Yes.
So that's just something I would want to reiterate to someone who was using that as a strength for a job.
Great advice. Hmm.
So before we go, let's talk about. We talked about a few things that could help people in their perfectionism. Let's give them some more tips
Okay.
that could make them, like I say, coming from the mind of someone who I'm gonna keep saying it. I have to because I'm recovering, right? Because you know what they say about recovery, you always gonna be that. I wish I could say. I keep saying it so I can make sure I tell myself that you're not that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I am in recovery. I admit that.
Absolutely.
So, in order to live a more five-star life, and keep your mind right, you should start living a little bit less perfect. And one of the ways that I say is one of the tips that I have is to first of all stop calling yourself that. Like I keep saying, recovering. Like stop saying I'm a perfectionist and thinking
Yeah.
that it's going to be all good and everybody's going to look at me and go, "Woo, wow, I love that perfectionist."
Yeah.
It's not attainable. Nothing and no one is perfect. So, one of my tips is to stop. Stop calling yourself perfect.
Yes. And I would say strive for excellence. But if it doesn't exactly go as planned, be happy with what you did. If you know you've given your all, be happy with that. When I made the statement earlier about failing forward, has
Yes.
there ever been situations where you messed up, you failed, but it just led you into your blessing?
Yes.
You just
Yes.
never know. Or when you worked hard and you wanted this job so bad, but that wasn't what was for you. So you got depressed, right? Because you know you interviewed well, you had your perfect suit on, you got this other job and it was the perfect fit for you.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to let life just guide you and not feel like it has to be a certain way. Release the requirement of being so perfect in everything and just be happy with giving your best.
I love that because you said it's almost like just do it right. We strive for progress, not perfection. So, and the only way to progress is to keep moving and to just do it.
Yeah.
And do things like you said, not so perfect. And watch and see how you feel. Just try it.
Yeah.
Try it and see how you feel.
Yes.
Um, if
Absolutely.
you are an extreme perfectionist, you may need some help and therapy may be the way for you.
Mhm.
It's necessary for you to learn how to cope
Yeah.
when it comes to anything extreme. I keep using the word recovery because
Yeah.
recovery is something that you gotta keep working on it because it shows up. If it's been part of your life and been part of your habit, it shows up. So if you are an extreme perfectionist and all these things sound like you, but you're like, "Ugh, I don't know how to move forward and do anything different," then it may just be time for you to get some help and maybe
Yeah.
get some therapy. And we just advise you to not go at it alone. Get some
Absolutely.
support to move past and get yourself
Yeah.
into recovery.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Anything else you want to add to that, Felina, that we didn't say or we didn't get to talk about when it comes to
You know
perfectionism?
what? Life is tough, and we have to stop beating ourselves up.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Oftentimes we're our own worst enemy, and we have to stop that because the world will do that for us.
Enough.
We're with ourselves 24 hours a day. And so if we're putting all those demands on ourselves, like, gosh, that's horrible. We don't release that, let that go and, be satisfied with what we were able to give and not try to be the best of the best of the best, just be happy
Yes.
with who you are.
I love that. Say it a little bit louder. Be happy
Happy
with
with who
who
you
you
are.
are. Listen, we want to thank you for joining us on this 5-star day. We believe in you. We believe that you will start to live a more 5-star life starting right now. We know you could have been anywhere, but you chose to be here with us. So thank you. We want you to laugh more, love more, and take care of your mind, body, and soul. And do us a favor.
As a favor, on purpose.
On purpose, make sure you have a 5-star day. The 5-Star Living Show is sponsored by Voices of Mo featuring Coach Monickie at Monickie.com and Flossie Flicks Photography. We will see you next time. Bye
Bye,
bye.
y'all.